Greetings and welcome, everybody, to this latest episode of Poly Weekly News. I'm your host, as always, David Danto, and we got a great show for you this week. I'm being joined by my friend and colleague, Robert Manassero, who has been on the show before talking about the API Marketplace, because we have some new partners and some changes to the API Marketplace. And we have another guest as well we'll introduce. So, Robert, how are you? How are things going?
Really good. Thanks, David, and thanks for having me on the show again. It's always a pleasure.
So what's the latest with the API Marketplace? How's it going since we announced it?
I would like to say we have some really interesting things to talk about today, and I couldn't be more excited. So I think if we remember back, I think it was September, right, David, when we introduced the API Marketplace, and although the introduction of the marketplace was a really important milestone, what was really interesting and notable in that release was it also signified the release of the Lens APIs to the public. And if you remember, the Lens platform is our device management and insight platform, right?
Yep. It not only takes our endpoints and makes them video endpoints, but it gives us access to so many other things, becoming room sensors.
Exactly. And so releasing those APIs to the public really signified this turning point for us and the platform itself and our customers and our partners. And opening up those APIs, it really gives our developer community a new way to unlock those very unique collaboration experiences, taking advantage of all the latest and greatest within our platform. And doing this and releasing the APIs was always something we were planning to do from the beginning, right? But we just wanted to make sure the timing was right so that we could set up our partners and our developer community for success. And I think we did that. And I think we have some really exciting news to share about that today.
Yeah, so we have one of our partners joining us, Patrick Edwards from Neowit. Patrick, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Great to have someone from Oslo on a video conferencing webcast anytime. You know, that's always a center of excellence coming up. So before we go to you, Robert, tell us about why we partnered with Neowit and what the story is.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, right? When you normally think of like a device management platform, you generally think of a platform that's focused on enabling and ensuring that the people are using those devices that you've deployed out in your environment are having the best experience possible. And that generally means, updating their software at scale and making sure they're maintaining configuration compliance and, of course, understanding the health and status of those devices. And maybe even, starting to dabble in a little bit, understanding utilization of those devices and understanding if your investment, is being utilized to the best that it can.
That's the baseline. That's what we've got out of a lot of management platforms. And we have a pretty good one.
Yeah, of course, I would like to say that. And that's the baseline, right? And so those are very important. They're necessary elements, right? However, I would like for us to think of this a little differently, right? So when you combine the right tools out there, and you can use the Lens platform to unlock so much more within the office space and how we work, right? So in this case, and this is what I'm excited about, when you combine what Neowit has built, and Patrick, we'll talk about that in a second, right? When you combine what they've built for the smart building industry, and you combine it with the hardware coming from us and what it can unlock, and then you wrap that in a cloud platform that aggregates all these data streams to make it really simple to integrate with. This partnership, I think it just really makes sense. And it really helps push the bounds of what people think when they think of the Lens platform, device management, and the experiences that we can unlock together.
No, that's very true, and it's exciting. So Patrick, let's get it from your perspective. First of all, tell us a little bit about Neowit. When did the company start? What did you do? What's your base purpose in life?
Yeah, so Neowit, we started like 3 years ago. So we're a really young company. A lot of us come from the AV background. Oslo is a small city with a lot of AV and UC people. And over the years, we all of us that is in the company, we heard the word smart building, right? And I was like, yeah, everyone's going around talking about smart buildings, but is a building smart just because you have some solar panels on the roof or some cool sensors or some cool devices? It's not. So in Neowit, and all of us, we were like, well, what is actually a smart building? Well, a building isn't smart before it learns and acts by itself. The big question was like, how do we get there? Because in a building or an office space today, there's so many technology silos. Like you have security, you have the HVAC, you have AV equipment, the infrastructure, and so on. And none of these silos actually speaks together. Addition to that was like, but now when ESG and sustainability comes top of mind of different companies, like how do you get data to report on that? And then during COVID, some other things changed as well, how we worked. And we were thinking, okay, what if we connect data, buildings, and people? So then we started off in building our platform, looking like, okay, what's going to be in 5 years from now on, or 10 years from now on? What is the challenges in workspace applications today? What is the challenge on buildings? And you have so many persons as well. You have the security guards, you have the facility manager, the IT, everything. So, and we thought, okay, let's give it a crack to see what we can do. And so basically what we did was that we built a platform that turns an office space or building into a digital twin. And that's like the short background for Neowit.
So you're essentially aggregating all of this data into a cloud platform that the occupants of the building, the owners of the building, the users of the building can now look at and either have automatic things happen based on what's going on, or at least get the data from what's going on in a big cloud data lake. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's it. And what we see in the EU, at least, there's so much focus on sustainability, right? And there's a lot of reports saying that 40% of the emission going out comes from real estate. And Norway being like the greenest country in the world, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but they have a lot of focus. Everyone drives a Tesla, and yeah. What we see now is like, okay, if you have a low space utilization, you have a high CO2 emission. So addition to being like the digital twin and the data lake, we put applications on top. Let's say we're like workspace, where you can get a live picture of where's available meeting rooms, desks. You can book it. It's integrated with everything. And then, like, I think it's like 5 months ago, we started talking with you guys. We looked at what you guys are doing, and you know, if you're gonna go and buy people counting sensor today, that's going to cost you around $1,000 to $3,000, right? But with HP Poly's products and Lens, you have it built in. And now things are starting to become interesting, what we can do together.
That's the key. That's one of the major things that we've been telling people for a very long time as to why the Poly gear and Poly Lens, you know, now under the HP umbrella, is so different than all of the other video conferencing and webcams and all the other pieces on the product, because they're not just cameras. You know, if you hook yourself up to Microsoft or to Zoom or to any of the other platforms that we're natively compatible with, and you get the call detail record and the platform management for them, you're going to get great data, but just on those platforms.
Yep.
If you connect to Poly Lens, you're able to use the video conferencing device in the room as a room sensor and get all the data about whether the room is occupied and not occupied. Is it over capacity? Is it under capacity? You know, it becomes a 24/7 sensor, and your activation of our APIs on your software is now turning that device for no additional cost. It was bought for conferencing. It's now the room sensor that's giving all the data for the building, and that's awesome.
Yep. Absolutely. And there's a very interesting case in Oslo where It was one of the top highest law firms. And of course, they are in the best location, the highest rent ever. And they started utilizing our platform, right, to understand the spaces. What turns out that they completely did a wrong investment when it came to meeting rooms. They saw that, oh, we don't have that much needs for the larger spaces, the larger meeting rooms, because most of the lawyers, they prefer the small jump-in meeting rooms, 1 to 4 people. So after 6 months, they actually change their offices. And one thing is for like better space utilization, but think about the people. There's a struggle to get the best lawyers, the best tech people, the best in every single industry. And the millennials, well, they set higher standards to their employers today. So it's a complete like the picture of where are we going and what can we do to get a better data basically.
Yeah, and take it from me, having been in the corporate lifestyle for at least 20 years in an earlier part of my career, we tend to put facilities in based on the loudest voice. Whether
Yeah.
that loudest voice is the architect that's been hired, who may or may not know what's going on, or he just happens to be the loudest guy, or
Yeah.
the consultant, or 1 or 2 of the senior people at the company being the loudest voice saying, I must have this, this is what's required. That's good to know. You always want to keep people happy, but by actually getting the data of what size rooms are used and how much of them is used and how much of them are filled versus not filled and what's the actual utilization, you can now make technology and space decisions based on what's really going on in the building, not just some casual offhanded comment or some view, hey, the room's packed today, but really take a look at the last X months or years of utilization and say, this is what we need in the facility. So it's really good. And that used to be done with room sensors, as you point out. You don't need to do that with room sensors anymore because the video conferencing device is a room sensor.
Exactly.
It's really good in terms of what you've done. I know that as we're recording the show, by the way, we're not live this week because we're actually, as you're watching it, if you're watching the premiere on Monday, we're all going off to Barcelona for the ISE conference. Robert, you're not going to be there, but I know Patrick, you and I will be there. Is Neowit something we'll be able to see and talk to at ISE?
The question was to me.
Yes.
Yes. You guys will showcase Neowit at your booth. So I hope that we will see a lot of integrators and customers to see what is possible to do together with PolyHP and Neowit.
That's terrific, and hopefully I will see you there because I will be there. Robert, this is just one partner for the API marketplace. I'm sure we've got other people either dipping their toes in at this point or jumping in full body. What can you tell us about what's going on, just kind of from a speculative standpoint?
We sure do, right? And can I just say, I'm sad I'm not gonna be there at ISE with you guys. I would love to see Patrick in action, demoing this integration, demoing the Neowit platform at our booth. I think it's just gonna be a spectacular site, right? But we're just getting started, right, David? Neowit, I think this partnership is amazing, and I think it's gonna work out really well. I think we're going to start to enable a lot of really unique experiences just between these two companies, and we're just getting started in general, right? This is the first of many. We're going to be unlocking new experiences that involve all aspects of the meeting experience. Spaces, when it comes to Neowit, is a great example. Meeting intelligence and things like that would be another example we're going to be diving into. General integrations to UC monitoring and management along with our other partners in this space. You can see all this coming forward. So, I hope be up here in your show in a few months talking about something else, David.
Oh, I'm sure we'll do it. I'm sure I'd love to have you on here. Before we go, Patrick, let me know, do you have a demo? Do you have something that you can show us to give us an example of how this is working?
Yeah, of course. You guys see what I'm sharing at the moment?
I do. We do.
I'm just going to showcase a small part of the platform. Okay. So what you see here is the workspace application, where everything is integrated with either Google or Microsoft Exchange, or we have our own booking engine. So you can do different types of environments. And every single company is different today. Where you want to run everything that should be bookable, or it should be non-bookable, or a mix. The interesting part here is that workspace technology does not now become a new silo. So if I, for example, go in and book this room, I mark off here, I can book it. Also, I'm actually able to go and get out the sensor data for that actual room. Yeah, so today it's not that much, but in terms of, okay, let's see. At 11 o'clock today, it was 3 people there. What happened to the temperature? It went sky high. Also, I can go and get a more historical data. But what happens now is that just by that, we are able to get out the data, the equipment status, and how people are booking and using spaces. So basically, when I go and let's say I'm going to make a dashboard for IT to make some decisions. Well, I can create a new dashboard here, and I go here, and I can show them today. Okay, in polymedium, air quality versus people counting, what happens? People counting in the office. I can start going here, and I can configure a new dashboard. I select the name, the how I want it to look. And then I can do something called data cross-check. So I can add several types of data sources, people counting into a building versus, for example, which mediums are most popular? Or how does that reflect on what happens with the temperature or air quality? And also in terms of parking space, cross-check with how many are actually in the building and so on. There's unlimited with possibilities. And I can also announce that we're coming with Power BI integration that will make sure that everyone who uses Power BI, they can drag out the data and connect it with other types of different type of data sources.
That's a really interesting demo. It's a lot of technology built in, a lot of data that now you can get just at your fingertips. So it looks like an interesting product. Patrick, tell me, how can people find out more about Neowit, the company, and more about what you do?
So you can find more information on the HP Poly websites, or you can go into neowit.io and read more about it. Yeah.
Terrific. And Robert,
visit us at ISC on your booth. We'll showcase everything.
For the people that are at ISC,
people and social. So
for the people that are at ISC, awesome. For the people that aren't at ISC, we'll go take a look at the website. Robert, as always, how can somebody reach out to you personally or find out more about the API Marketplace?
Yeah, so you can visit our API Marketplace at developer.poly.com. See the latest APIs that we published from the Lens platform. You can also go to our Poly websites as well. It's poly.com/lens. And as always, you could drop me a direct email at robert.manassero@hp.com.
Terrific. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Patrick, I appreciate you joining us from Oslo. Robert, as always, great to have you on the show. That's going to be it for this week's Poly Weekly News. For all of my colleagues at HP and Poly, thank you very much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time every week to find out a little bit more about what we're doing. I'm David Danto. We'll see you next week from ISC.